You're like, I
But
wasn't going to uproot my entire life into a city I've never visited before for nothing.
Ed Sheeran above pretty much any other redhead, period.
Oh, I'm jealous. Mine was the Power Rangers. I had the ba 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 da ba ba.
I would actually very strongly disagree with that. Um,
How in the hell did you pick this to be something you'd get your degree for? I'm just curious.
oh, don't give me that question.
According to my calculations.
I want to do that. Like, that looks fun. Of course, my parents were like, yeah, you're not doing that. And well, here we are.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't.
There we go.
Perfect. How's your day going?
Good. How's yours?
Pretty good. Is it hot in Nashville today or no?
It's a little warm now. I mean, it's in the 70s, so it's like a heat wave now. It was in like the 50s 2 days ago and rainy. So everybody's like, can see the street from my window and everybody's out in like sundresses and shorts and stuff now. So,
I'm in a hoodie because it's cold inside my house, but it's supposed to get up to 90 today in Austin. So I'm like, all right, it's coming.
oof. Yeah, summer's here. There we go.
Well, thanks so much for being here with us today. I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, I was actually just laughing at one of your posts about posting to stay relevant.
Oh, yeah.
So
I trying
relatable.
to do more of that. Yeah, because it's like I can't just fall off the grid when I'm working on projects. So, gotta somehow stay relevant. So, here's a selfie.
Exactly. You have to. And it's like always an upkeep. It's always such a playing the catch-up game with social media, you know?
Right. Yeah. That's like
Do,
I can't just post to my story and just be like, "Here, I'm alive. Hi." No, like, you gotta do the whole thing.
exactly. Do you feel like social media is something that comes easy for you or you're kind of out of touch with it?
It's both for me. Like I'll have streaks where I'm like posting twice a day and I'm like responding to everything, and then I'll have a week where I just kind of like fall off the grid and I just totally forget. So, it's one extreme or the other. There's no in between.
No, and isn't it so funny how people think it's so easy to like promote yourself, but you have to keep up with algorithms and times, and it's so much easier when you have a full team doing it for you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for the day that my career grows to where can just have a social media manager and just be like, "Here, you do all that stuff. I pay you for this." Versus now where I'm just like, "What do I post today?"
For me, I'm like, oh shit, what do I post today? Is it relevant? Is anyone going to connect to it? And then I get in my
Right.
head. And by the time I was supposed to post at, I don't know, 3 o'clock, I'm overthinking. It's already 5
hmm
p.m. I'm like, fuck it, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I've definitely learned like when you have an idea to post, like just post it. The moment you start thinking about it, it's not going to go up. So I
It's
did
so
another
true.
post this afternoon that was like I had an idea because I had seen one of these like stay toxic trends. And I was like, okay, I should just post something like that. And I started thinking about it and I was like, nope, just do it. Just do it right now. So
Looks like we're on the same wavelength because that's me posting twice on TikTok today. And I have just like, you know what? Don't overthink it. Even if you fucking hate it, you don't like what you look like, you don't like what you sound like, just post it anywhere. What's the worst that can happen? One view? Fuck it,
right.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So you're originally from a small town in Ohio, is that correct?
hmm
Thinking back about the small town that you come from, now being in this mega house of music city, Nashville, Tennessee, is there ever a time when you think like what your life would actually look like today in 2025 if you were still there?
I've actually been thinking about that quite a bit recently. Like sort of reevaluating the direction that I'm going with my music makes you reflect on where you came from. And so thinking about like when I had my first apartment in my hometown, like would I still be there? Like would I still be working at the same restaurant? Like I don't know. Like I don't think I ever would have totally stayed in my hometown, even if I didn't move to Nashville. But it is kind of crazy to think what my life would be like. It'd be a lot simpler for sure, but it wouldn't be nearly as fun.
Well, how long have you been in Nashville now?
2.5 years now.
And is this the first time you've lived outside of Ohio?
hmm It is.
Wow.
So I moved to Nashville 2.5 years ago. Like I said, I had never been to Nashville. I was just like, I need to live in Music City because I want to be a country singer, and literally packed a U-Haul. I want to say my roommate at the time and I found a place and had a U-Haul booked and everything all within like 2 weeks or a week and a half or something like that. Like it was a super fast turnaround time. And I went to my manager and was like, yeah, I'm leaving. And they were like, wait, what? Like now? It's like, yeah, bye. Send you a postcard.
Well, I mean, it's so scary to think that you totally did it blinded. Like you said, you've never even visited. Had you been well traveled prior to making this move or not really?
I mean, like here and there. I lived in Europe for a semester in college, and so like I could travel, I guess. But I mean, I'd never up and moved somewhere, so it was kind of just like we're gonna see how this goes, and that was quite the adjustment to make, but definitely the right one.
Like not even family, right? You don't have any family in Nashville other than friends, I'm sure.
Nope, no, I don't have any friends, nothing. Like had never been, didn't know a single human, no connections there. Was just like we're just gonna drive down and figure it out.
Well, is it safe to say that for you personally, taking a scary leap of faith came with a very rewarding part of life?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like continuing to grow, and I'm starting to watch like the fruits of that hard work start to flourish. And I'm just like, okay, this is like starting to become worth it now. This is cool. We're definitely in the right place.
Okay, it makes me really happy that you said that you're able to see it because I've done a little bit of research and I was very impressed with the trajectory from when you put out your first song to where you're at today. It's extremely impressive. A lot of people to get this traction takes them several years, if not longer. So it's so refreshing to hear you say that you can see it because, as you know, in this industry, it's very easy to get caught up in what goals you are not reaching, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. It's hard to sort of focus on all the positive things sometimes. Definitely my manager has been like, hey, look at where you started, look at where you're at now. And that's been a nice reminder to just be like, okay, we're doing the right thing.
Well, and I wish I could say that it's all due to your abs. But it's definitely not. I was in my feels this morning with the writing that comes out of your fucking brain, your heart, your soul. I'm gonna go ahead and say on record, you're probably the second artist I have had on the show where I indulged in your music and all I did was write. I didn't really prep for a lot of things. I was just lost in it. And then I'm like, oh shoot, what song was I even on? And I just journaled away. So we're jumping into it, okay?
Oh my gosh, you're making my day already.
Good. Well, you're making mine for being here, not standing me up, because some artists do that. So thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. In one of your songs, you talked about being in church choir.
4 foot tall, with an old staircase guitar. The only boy in a small church choir was how he'd get a start. The 5'10", gone from matchbox to driving cars. He said, Mom and Dad, someday I wanna be a superstar. And they said, boy, your dreams ain't rare. They're too high, don't even cry, 'cause this life is never fair.
Did you feel different that early on in your life? I know for me personally, I didn't understand or could comprehend what it was about me that was different when I was participating in just anything in life at, let's say, the age of 6, right? What about for
Mhm.
you in this church environment? Did you feel different at the time?
I definitely felt different, but I didn't know like in what way. Have a vivid memory being in fourth grade and saying something at like the cafeteria table. One of the years I actually did go to school. I was mostly homeschooled. And I remember the girl across from me in fourth grade was like, "That's gay," and I was like, "What does that mean?" Like I was so sheltered, I had no idea what that even meant. And then in church choir, I just remember one of the teachers getting up and being like, "We want to take volunteers to sing in the church choir this year." And there were like three, four, five girls that got up, and I was just like, "I want to sing. Why not?" So I got up, and everybody was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Am I supposed to not or something? Like I don't understand." So yeah, definitely felt different, but I didn't know quite how.
It's so interesting because I had a very similar experience with school too, where I wasn't homeschooled. I was very much out there. I mean, my mom worked with Hollywood artists, and I've been exposed to a lot of the industry in very many different angles my entire life. But I do remember very vividly in elementary school, someone asked me that, and I remember that dumbfounded feeling of like, what do you mean by that? You know what I
Right,
mean?
like what is
Like,
that?
yeah, I was curious to ask you about this because, it's really important to kind of revisit revisit those first time impressions. So now I'm curious to know when you were in this church choir, regardless of how different you felt, did you feel like the star that you are becoming? Was that even a thought that early on? Did you role play interviews or anything like that during this time frame?
I mean, I always kind of like fantasized, I guess, about the idea of like being a singer and like different like scenarios in church with like a guitar and a microphone, like things that would literally never take place in my Catholic church. But I didn't really ever think it was like a possibility, like it was something you did until I was maybe like 12 years old, I want to say, when I started seeing like Disney Channel music videos and I was like, oh, there are like kids doing this. I want to do that. Like that looks fun. And of course, my parents were like, "Yeah, you're not doing that." And well, here we are.
Exactly. You just had to go the other way, you know?
Right. It just got to rebel a little bit.
In more ways than one. I'm just kidding. When it came to this, idea that you literally just mentioned with a guitar on a microphone on stage, it made me think of you openly talking about your dad playing the guitar and singing. Did he ever
hmm
give the music industry a go, or was that just something he did at home?
It's just something that he did at home. Because I remember asking him this, and he was like, I don't write songs. Like, I don't have that kind of a brain. Like, I just love playing guitar and I like singing, but being on stage, being in the spotlight, writing, whatever, like, that's just like not his thing. And then me being like the complete opposite, being like, but I like being in the spotlight. I like being the center of attention. And my dad was like, shocking. Of course you like being the center of attention. So, but he used to play guitar for me all the time when I was little.
When you were little, or even now as an adult, looking back at those times, did you see a different potential in your dad as a musician that he could see in himself, if that makes any sense?
Truly, I just don't think that my dad has that desire. I think he's extremely talented. Like, I definitely think he could. I don't think he wants to. And I think everybody's gifts are for different things. So he's always just been like, I'm just going to play at home. And he's perfectly happy doing that.
Was there ever any sort of disconnect between you, friends, and any other relatives where you were feeling like, oh my gosh, no one understands how serious it is I want to take this? I mean, what was your experience with telling people, I'm moving to Nashville, I'm going to go do music? Were people like, huh? How do you even do that?
I will say probably the years leading up to when I left my PhD program and started like the process of moving down to Nashville, those years were more the like telling people I want to be a songwriter, and they're like, okay, like cool. We'll see how long that lasts. Like how do you even do that? That's not a real job. Versus when I actually got to the point that I was moving down to Nashville, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm moving to Nashville. Don't really care what you think. See ya. And everybody at that point was just kind of like, Andrew's just gonna do what he wants. We can give our 2 cents, but he's not gonna listen. And I'm not. So, I mean, and now it's like I get to go back to family Christmas parties and whatever. And now my relatives come up to me and they're just like, you're like actually doing it. And I'm like, yeah, what did you think I was gonna do? Like, I wasn't playing. Like,
You're like, I
but
wasn't going to uproot my entire life into a city I've never visited before for nothing.
right, right. They're like, wait, we used to watch like CMT and now you have like placements on like their playlists. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I said I was going to do. Here we are.
Exactly. Let me backtrack real quick because something you talked about, with being a songwriter, real quick. Was that your initial thought about moving to Nashville? Were you ever not necessarily hiding behind the idea of being an artist yourself, but is that how this all came about? You thought songwriting first versus being the face of your own music.
I always thought more the performing, being the artist, like the face of it first. Songwriting is actually something that didn't come naturally to me at first. And it's just been like something that I built over time, just with more practice and being more and more inspired by different things. And it's interesting that you're asking me this question now because I literally had a conversation with my manager yesterday that I almost feel like I'm starting to shift slightly in the industry. And I'm like, I actually like writing now. And like I love being an artist, of course, but writing is more and more enjoyable for me now. But it definitely was artist first, songwriter second.
I am mind blown to hear this from you. Listen, I am not a musician in any way, okay? But I do know good music, obviously. But I will say this, like country is just known for the storytelling. There's a very different way that country artists write. And you're absolutely right. It's not just something you can just put on paper, pick up a guitar, throw on a hat and boots, and you're a country artist. There really
Mm.
is a very different approach to country. You could have had me fooled, dude. Like, you could have literally sat here and told me, oh, yeah, I've been writing country music since I was 6. And I'd be like, yep, I can tell. I want to know now, at what point did you actually believe in your writing, considering songwriting wasn't really a thing? But do you remember that moment where you were like, oh, wow, I am a songwriter?
Yeah. Um, what's actually kind of funny about that question is this most recent song that I put out. That's the song that made me like, oh, I'm a songwriter.
I wanna be honest, but if I'm being honest, how much is too much? And I wanna be confident that I'm not, and it's really hard to love the version of me that you see. Someday I wanna be, and I wanna be a little more authentic, but I'm apologizing for trying to be unapologetic.
Not to toot my own horn, but I love that song. And I was like, okay, no, we're doing this now. So it's been like a steady growth of confidence. And I always knew that like I could write songs, but it wasn't until like the last few months that I've been like, oh, there's something here. And seeing some people reach out to me being like, you have an it factor or whatever, like that's been the turning point. So super recent.
Okay, I'm so pumped because we are going to deep dive some of those lyrics. And so let me not get ahead of myself because now I'm like covered in goosebumps and I'm so excited about it because, again, it's just fascinating to me because to me, I'm like, fuck, this must come so easy to him with this writing. So I'm like geeking out about it. Totally random with your writing and your writing process in general. Do you start with a song title or do you go with lyrics first, then pick a song title? Just curious.
Every song is different. Some songs I will have like a lyric idea in mind and I'll expand on that. Sometimes I'll almost write like a poem, like that song Cowboys and Lonely Crowns I put out. I wrote the whole thing and then one day was just fooling around on the piano and sang those lyrics and was like, wait, this actually works. And then sometimes I'll even have like a full backtrack that has no concept in mind whatsoever and I'll write on top of that. Every song is super, super different.
Thank God you said that because my next question is going to be in regards to a song title. I'm going to put you on the spot just to see what you come up with on the spot. Are you ready?
Hmm.
You've also talked about your grandpa playing classic country music on the radio. If Andrew could close his eyes right now, he's in the studio or wherever he is writing a song. This radio inspired a song lyric or a song title. What would you call it?
Gosh, would inspire. I mean, the memory that I always flash back to with my grandpa that was kind of like the turning point of I really like country music was Lady A's song Hey Bartender was playing in his truck while we were doing like some kind of delivery or whatever. And I was just like, oh, this is a bop. So it would probably be something like Hey Bartender.
I love it. I was so curious to see if your answer would give me an idea of what the physical radio looked like. So it's fascinating to
Mm,
hear you talk about this being in the car because obviously, listen, I'm not age shaming anyone. Okay, I'm 35 years old myself, so I'm on my way up. But I was thinking, Grandpa radio, is it one of those little turn knobby radios? Was it a boombox? So I love that.
yeah, I was just in his truck.
So if you ever do write a song about that radio, now we know it's from the perspective of you being in the passenger seat. I love it.
There we go.
Prior to releasing music, you went to college and got a degree in biochemistry. Is that correct?
Yep.
First of all, how in the hell did you pick this to be something you'd get your degree for? I'm just curious.
Well, growing up, everybody always told me that I was good at math and science, and they're like, you need to go into this. And I really did enjoy my math and chemistry classes in high school and then in college. So it was just sort of a like natural evolution of, okay, well, I guess everybody says being a songwriter and an artist isn't really going to pay the bills, so I got to find something to pay the bills. And chemistry just kind of seemed like the natural progression, and just that's what I ended up doing for a while until I had enough of it.
In honor of your degree, this is going to be bio country. Can you think of a pop song that you can hear yourself adding a little country twang to?
Pop song adding country twang. Oh, well, I actually kind of want to start doing a cover series of like different pop songs, but make it country. And Tate McRae's song "You Broke Me First," I've always thought that would sound really cool as a country song. Like just slowed down a little bit with some pedal steel or whatever. Like that would, I feel like that would work in country.
Please do it. Post it. I can't wait to hear it myself. Is there anything new in the musical lab at the moment? You already hinted about something that you're writing. What can you hint the audience about what is to come with your next project?
Yeah, so I originally entered 2025 doing one song every month. I have since stopped doing that because it was just becoming, too much pressure. And the creativity was getting like siphoned out of me. But everything that I'm writing now has sort of unexpectedly inspired possibly a new record. We'll see. But listeners can probably expect music to be a little bit more on like the singer-songwriter side, maybe a little bit more stripped down, simple. Yeah, I'm just kind of having fun with it.
Okay, well, the answer couldn't, my voice just cracked, I'm sorry, but the answer couldn't be any better because my next question is, in honor of the word bi in bio country, if your music could go two ways, what would it be? And it cannot be country pop.
Can I say folk pop?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll do that.
Well, I mean, it's no secret Andrew makes his own rules, so we're good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, so this next one requires you putting on your acting hat for 2 seconds. In your best lab coat voice, whatever that means to you, can you tell everyone listening the nerdiest thing you can come up with?
Oh no. My lab coat voice. I'm pretty sure my lab coat voice was pretty much just mime in college, unfortunately. And the nerdiest thing ever. What, like just science related?
You want to know what's so funny about this question to me?
Like I'm so overthinking this.
Don't overthink it. My mind works in a very mysterious way. I don't know how I come up with some of these questions, but the one thing that came to mind when I was like a lab coat voice, what does that mean to me? For some reason in my head, this is all I could think of according to my calculations. So that's just kind of where I drew the inspiration from that. I literally was looking up objects that people use in biochemistry to relate this degree into the interview. So one of them was a lab coat. So I'm like, lab coat? Well, if we wear a hat to act or we wear a blah, 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 a lab coat. So
Oh my gosh. Well, did you know that a catalyst does not speed up a reaction? It lowers its activation energy.
dude, that was so
Like,
perfect.
why that's the thing that comes to my mind. I don't know. And I did like two different accents. I'm not an actor, but my friends are.
What's amazing about this is I even went down the rabbit hole on Reddit trying to figure out like biochemistry inside jokes, and I just must be too blonde to get any of them. So I'm like, scratch that shit, can't do that. Totally random, small town. You mentioned Catholic, so somewhat religious. Did you get any
Mhm.
pushback for going to school for something like science? Sometimes a lot of people in their religious beliefs, they don't necessarily, not agree with science, but I'm truly curious. You got pushback for maybe doing music, but what about for something like science?
Yeah, I mean, definitely got pushback for doing music, but science, I didn't get any pushback for that. The only science that some more conservative Christians would sort of tiptoe around, at least for me growing up, would be more like evolution and like sort of that realm. But chemistry, I never got any pushback on that. But I was also so sheltered and just very tunnel visioned on my homework that I probably just wasn't paying attention if there was any.
You were like, can't pick up on the cues about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Amazing. Well, from science to country pop, I think it's the most fascinating story ever. I love hearing that, you were homeschooled because, I mean, I was not homeschooled, but I do think that, and I've talked about this on a previous episode a while ago, about how it's always always fascinated me how kids that are homeschooled, they do have better etiquette. I don't know if that's the right word when it comes to speaking to adults. They're not very shy in conversating, like ordering their own meal. Like they're
Mm.
almost kind of, because you're in an environment with like your parents or maybe in-house tutors or whatever, your interactions are a little bit more, they're better developed, I guess you can say. Would you agree or
Hmm.
disagree with that?
I would actually very strongly disagree with that. Um, I definitely felt growing up in a homeschool environment, like, I mean, people have always told me, they're like, wait, we didn't think you were homeschooled. Like, you actually very seemed well spoken and you socialize. You were homeschooled? And I'm like, yeah. But then a lot of people in my hometown are like that total opposite, where it's like they don't really have social skills. They don't really know how to talk to people. They don't really have that etiquette, as you said. So that's kind of interesting that that's the impression you get, because that's totally not the one that I get.
Well, I mean, since we're on the topic of like stereotypes real quick, when it comes to like how you are labeled in music, you're proud to be part of the LGBTQI plus community. It's something that you're very open about it. Do you feel like there is a part of you that is not necessarily, not always like happy about being placed in that category versus just an artist? How do you navigate those thoughts and feelings in regards to having a label in the music industry, if that makes any sense at all?
I definitely entered the country music scene wanting to sort of push that, like, I guess social issue awareness, whatever, like really being explicit on like, no, these are like the gay songs that need to be told. And I feel like my songwriting has shifted to a lot more neutral because at the end of the day, I don't believe that any of us really want to be treated any differently. Literally, we just want the same things that any straight person wants. Like we just want to get married, we want to have kids, we want to have a life. We're not trying to stomp on anyone's cowboy boots. So I feel like my lyrics have shifted definitely more to a we're just trying to make it normal. Like I'm just singing what a straight woman would be singing in her country songs, but since it's coming from a guy with he pronouns, it's a gay love song.
No, and it's so amazing to hear you also say that because I know it's very obvious, like, with doing research on your music and the lyrics, that it's like, all right, this is a gay man. But I feel like there are a lot of people who can listen to your music. And like I said, I got so lost, dude. I was like, not even worried about was he talking about a he or a she. There was just so much more about your music that had anything to do with like gender. And so
Mm.
this really prompted me to ask you this question because I was so inspired by that. Do you feel like Andrew has not necessarily the chops, but if he were to be approached today and say, hey, can you write this song from the straight perspective for this artist? Would you be open to taking that approach into a songwriting process for someone else?
I mean, if I was a songwriter for other artists, then yeah, I mean, I'm open to writing just kind of whatever. For me as an artist, I'm always going to write from a gay man's perspective. But I mean, just writing in general, I mean, it's always fun no matter what you're writing.
No, and it's so exciting to me too, because there are a lot of artists out there, and I hate to say this, but it's just me. I'm being honest. I can only be myself, right? There are a lot of music that I'll listen to, and I'm like, oh, you're trying to convey the message too obvious that you're a gay man. Like it's a little bit too obvious. But again, with yours, I was just like, huh, why am I feeling these feelings? Why am I like, not focusing on the fact that I just read an article that talked about how he's a gay man writing country pop music. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's where I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's the power in writing. It's to not be able to only steer in one direction. It's supposed to take you in a whirlwind of a roller coaster. You know what I mean? So I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that with your music. I love it.
Oh no, thank you for saying that because that is exactly what I want to be doing. And that's so to hear you say that, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, you're doing it well, and we obviously have to talk about your latest song, Unapologetic. There's a line on there that says, but I want to be confident, but I'm not, and it's really hard to love. When does Andrew feel the most confident outside of music?
Outside of music. Oh, in any kind of environment when I'm not thinking, quite frankly. I am a server on Broadway. This is the concept that's coming to mind for some reason, but I'm a server on Broadway as like my sort of day job to help pay the bills. It's an environment where I'm not really in my head. I'm kind of just like doing my thing and I'm just socializing with people. And that's when I feel the most confident because I mean, I get dressed up a little bit. you're laughing, you're having fun, people are like asking you questions and advice, and it's just like you're just being you, and it's great. And then the other time I feel most confident is whenever I'm with my close friends and family, like surrounded with people that love and accept you for who you are, then it's like, okay, I can feel comfortable, at peace. I would say those are the times when I feel the most confident.
No, that's so amazing. And I feel like those surroundings are so important, especially when you're going through moments where you're not feeling so confident. But also, you talked in the song about being hard to love. In 2025, do you feel like those are the people you turn to when you're feeling like, ugh, I'm a hard person to love?
I would say so for sure. Yeah. I think my string of texts to my mom the last couple of weeks has proving that for sure. Um, but no, it's definitely like an ongoing journey, like learning how to just love you and not really care what other people think. So, my friends and my family have been the people that support me the most with that.
Well, and I think it's so important to know when it's time to reach out to people, right? Because I think that part of it is you have to, at some point, sit in your own thoughts. I think that's where, I mean, I'm not a songwriter, but I can say that maybe those are the times where some of the most vulnerable lyrics come. It's when you deep dive into yourself, when you're sitting in your own thoughts. It's why you write
Mm,
some of the lyrics that you do. But I do think it's so important to constantly remind yourself, hey, reach out to other people to get out of that headspace because you can't depend on your creativity and your art to get you out of it all the time. And for me, it was very relatable to hear you put a line in the song about being hard to love because that's all of us. We all sometimes feel like we're tainted, like we're not the easiest to love or even at our worst. And so I
mm.
had to ask you about that because if at any point you do feel like Andrew is feeling like he is hard to love, now you've got an episode to tune in to playback and remind yourself that you aren't hard to love. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Of course. What if you played the piano and not the guitar? What genre would you think people would place you in?
That's kind of sort of a catch-22 because there are a lot of artists that will play piano in country music. And my thoughts in moving to Nashville and like my first year or two in Nashville were very like, you have to wear a flannel shirt, you have to play the guitar, like you have to be like, check these boxes, and that makes you a country singer. And what I'm kind of learning in Nashville is that's not really the case all the time because you have to be a little bit different. So, I mean, now playing piano, I think it would still be country in my humble opinion, but who knows?
Amazing. Do you like what you sound on piano today versus maybe before you were not necessarily relying on the guitar, but sometimes I know for me, I've worked with a lot of musicians who do piano a lot acoustically on guitar. Voice
Mhm.
does change on the instrument. At what point did you finally realize, like, oh, I do like what I sound on just piano as well versus a stripped guitar?
I mean, I love the way that they both sound, honestly. It's more just a sonic preference and more of a like, I feel like emotional experience to just like be playing the piano versus the guitar. So I just feel like I can get a little bit more emotional. I already said that word, but I'm going to use it again. I just feel like I can be more authentic, I guess, on piano because it's like there's nothing else happening. It's just me and these keys.
Amazing. And then again, we're still talking about this same song, your latest song, Unapologetic. If it didn't work in Tennessee, where would you be?
Um, I would probably end up West Coast somewhere. I've always loved California. I've been obsessed with California since I was little. So actually when I was thinking about moving to Nashville, I was already thinking about moving away from my hometown in general. And it was like it's going to be Nashville for country music or it's going to be California, whether that's like San Francisco, LA, something like that, just to get, the West Coast experience. So I feel like somewhere over there is where I would move if it doesn't work out in Nashville.
Well, it's been so nice deep diving some of these lyrics, and I'm so curious to ask you this again, since you're in your singer-songwriter era, all right? Too bad for heaven, too good for hell. If Andrew could name his afterlife location, what would you name it?
My afterlife location. I don't even know how to answer that. Oh my gosh. Can I get a hint? Like what does that even mean?
Do you get my reference to the song?
No, not at all, evidently.
So on, your lyrics, it's, you talk about being too bad for heaven or too
Mhm. Too bad for
good.
heaven, too good for hell.
E-
Yeah.
Yes. And so then I was just like, well, heaven and hell is where people say you go in your afterlife, right? So I'm
Hmm.
like, well, if he's too good or bad for either or, where's his afterlife going? What is he going to call it if it's not heaven or hell? That's where I got the inspo from it. It was your lyrics again. I
Okay.
journaled.
Okay. My mind went to like some like fantasy realm. Like, what would you call? I'm like, okay. But I mean, being raised Catholic, my family would call that purgatory. So we're gonna go with that.
Amazing. For me personally, this is what I journaled. This was a little memo to myself. I said, bitch, you won't even last a second dead before you wake up in another body, giving this shit another go. That's what I wrote. So for me, I was like, no afterlife for me. I'm coming right back. In regards to going back to your singer-songwriter era, real quick, is there an artist that you could think of right now that you'd be willing to drop everything you're doing right now for and write with them for their catalog?
Oh my gosh. I mean, a few different artists come to mind. There's a new country duo in Nashville, Thelma and James, that I've been listening to like crazy, a husband and wife duo. I would love to write for them or Jake Etheridge. Ingrid Andress is another country artist that like she is my spirit animal. So like if she said, "Do you want to write for me?" I would be like, "Yes, when?" Like right now, does that work? Honestly, those are the ones that come to mind, but the list could be, quite frankly, ongoing for that.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad you dropped some girl names in there because, first of all, I have to tell you, Wish It Was You is my favorite song in your catalog. Okay. I often
Oh,
say this on
thanks.
the show. Of course, I often say this on the show, music that fucks me up. This was the one for me where I was like, this song fucked me up.
My dad always told me that the pretty girl gets the guy. But you ain't got one, and my heart wants to rewrite the storyline. And I wish it was you sitting next to me, throwing back a crown inside this bar. I wish it was you with your hand on me, kissing in the front seat of my car. I wish it was you saying that you want me to make the first move. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I wish it was
I want to talk about that song with you real quick. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm glad you mentioned some female artists is because my question to you is if this song could be reimagined as a duet with a girl singing on it, who do you think could pull this song off with you?
I mean, Ingrid, I would absolutely love her to be on, quite frankly, anything that I do. Chelsea Ballerini, she'd be fun. That would be a really fun duet, and she loves her gays, so I feel like that could be a fun duet.
Amazing. I'm going to manifest that with you on the show. Hopefully that happens. That would be sick.
Please do. I would love that.
Another one I came up with in regards to having a female voice on this track was Michelle Branch. Do you know who that is?
I have heard the name, but I am so bad with placing like any kind of item with a person. So you're gonna have to elaborate a little bit.
I am dying because you're the second guest I've asked. Do you know who Michelle Branch is? And they're like, she's iconic. She's amazing. I love her so much. Her writing used to be very, in my opinion, used to be very country-like, but she was not a country
Mm.
artist. But then she eventually did go and do some country music. Anyway, you'll have to look her up later. And if you fucking hate it, forget this question. But if you love it, remember this question.
Okay.
So, the last thing I want to do with you, real quick, in honor of your lyrics, okay? In honor of the red hair girl, do you know where that's coming from?
Yes.
Amazing. I'm going to give you two redheads very quickly. I want you to pick one or the other. Are you ready?
Oh boy. Okay.
So, the first one I have is Ariel, the Little Mermaid, or
Hmm.
Jessica Rabbit. Who are you picking?
Ariel.
Hell yeah, me too. The Little Mermaid was my favorite growing up.
I love that.
This one was hard for me, so I put them together on purpose. Kim Possible or Poison Ivy?
Oh, Kim Possible. Absolutely. I used to have
Amazing.
the Kim Possible like text tone on my phone. I used to have that a long time ago. So her, 100%.
Oh, I'm jealous. Mine was the Power Rangers. I had the ba 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 da ba ba. The next one I have for you is Daphne or Princess Anna?
Princess Anna.
Peter Pan or Hercules?
Peter Pan.
Yes, that was my pick too. That was my pick too. The next one I
Yeah.
have for you is Nicole Kidman or Lindsay Lohan. This was hard for me.
Oh, don't give me that question. Um, I'm gonna go Lindsay Lohan because I had a huge crush on Lindsay Lohan when I was little.
I think we all did. I'm like, she was
Yeah.
my everything.
But I have a crush on Nicole Kidman now, so like
Oh my God. No, my partner and I were just talking about her acting even now in the most recent roles that she's doing. Like
yeah,
she is just like she has never flopped in my life, like ever,
she's
you know?
amazing.
She's so
She's
amazing.
amazing.
The next one I have for you is Ed Sheeran or Prince Harry.
Ed Sheeran above pretty much any other redhead period, so
Oh, hell yeah. The last one I have for you is Seth Green or Cameron Monaghan.
Seth Green or Cameron Monaghan. I don't even know that I know those names. So
Okay,
Cameron's a cool name. We're gonna go with that one.
okay, I'm glad you went with Cameron. That was my favorite one.
Okay, cool.
He was this actor from the show Shameless. I don't know if you've ever heard of it with Emmy Rossum.
I have heard of it. I've never seen it though. I am the worst when it comes to like watching or have seen or read quite literally anything. My friends are always like, "Have you seen this show? You haven't seen this, have you?" And I'm like, "Nope, probably not."
I get that response all the time when people were like, "Did you watch Friends?" And I'm like, "I didn't get into Friends." People get mad at me for it.
That's one of the few shows I actually have seen. I actually have seen Friends.
I was more of like a Will and Grace watching show during that time
Yeah,
frame, so
okay. I've seen a couple episodes of Will and Grace. We love that.
amazing. So, very quickly, now that we're talking TV shows real quick, if you can place your music on any TV show today, where are you putting it?
What is that? Is it Heartstoppers on Netflix? Is that the gay TV show of like the high school kids? Heartstoppers, is that what it's called?
I have no idea. I must not be gay enough.
Okay. Well, I mean, I haven't even seen all of it, so I'm totally not gay enough, but that's the show that comes to mind. I'm sure one of the listeners, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
We're gonna get schooled on how to be better gays, Andrew. That's gonna be us.
Basically, I just need schooled on how to recognize pop culture, period, because I have like a little wheelhouse of what I know in here, and anything outside that I'm like, nope, no idea what that is.
That's what we call staying in your lane, Andrew, because you're focusing
Yeah,
on you. That's why your trajectory is going up. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Outside that little wheelhouse, couldn't tell you anything.
That's right. And we're going to keep it that way because we love what you're doing. So,
Well, thank you.
of course. Well, lastly, Andrew, please tell everyone where they can find your music, where they can find you, and let's wrap it up with that.
Yeah, well, my name's Andrew Mitch. I'm a country singer in Nashville. You can find all of my stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all the things. And it is at Andrew Mitch Music for my website, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. So please reach out. I respond to all my DMs.
And you've got some upcoming shows in May too. Is that correct?
I do. I have 3 shows in Nashville. So if you're in the area or you just feel like coming to Nashville, come say hi.
And are those dates and to get tickets and all that good stuff on your Instagram website? Where can they find that?
Tickets are going to be on my bands in town. So that would be linked to my Spotify and YouTube and all those things.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the chat today, Andrew. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and having you on for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Take care of yourself.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.